Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the crushing deep-sea pressures facing decentralized organizations. And we're going to discover exactly how biological blueprints hold the ultimate key to their survival. It's a fascinating topic, so let's just jump right in.
Have you ever watched a massive, rigid institution completely crack under pressure? It makes you wonder what it actually takes to build a framework capable of adapting to extreme, rapidly shifting environments. See, we so often think the answer to volatility is just building thicker walls, right? Adding tighter controls. But when you look at the evolution of modern structures, especially in the hyper-fast world of Web3, rigidity is literally the enemy of survival. We're talking about a space defined by 24/7 global markets, anonymous contributors, and constant tech shifts. Traditional, static structures are failing left and right. We need something profoundly different.
Section 1. The pressure on DAOs. To really grasp the solution here, we first have to plunge into the incredibly hostile, multi-jurisdictional ocean where decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, operate today. The sheer scale of threats they face is staggering. We're looking at vicious governance capture, devastating Sybil attacks, widespread voter apathy, and just a maze of complex financial and regulatory gray areas. And these aren't minor speed bumps. These are immense environmental pressures that will easily shatter a standard DAO that relies on some inadequate traditional legal wrapper. When your organization crosses physical borders at lightning speed, a standard corporate shell isn't going to save you. It's like taking a wooden rowboat into a Category 5 hurricane. The pressure will inevitably find the weak points, and the whole thing is going to collapse. The core problem is our fundamental approach to design. Right now, we treat these organizations like mechanistic software artifacts. We build them like industrial machines, rigid, top-down, and fundamentally extractive. And by extractive, I mean they're designed to endlessly siphon value out of a system for a few people at the top, which leaves the foundation incredibly brittle. But to survive the insane pressures we just talked about, organizations need to be designed as living, self-regulating institutions. We have to ditch that mechanistic mindset and fully embrace a biological one. We need to design entities that are adaptive to their environments, regenerative with their resources, and inherently resilient to shocks. Let's move to Section 2, biomimicry, and using nature as our mentor. Why try to invent fragile new structures from scratch when we can look to the ultimate R&D lab? Nature has a 3.8 billion-year track record of successful, sustainable, and highly adaptable design. This is the whole foundation of biomimicry, which is a really powerful framework popularized by naturalist Janine Benyus. It's defined as the conscious emulation of life's genius to solve human design challenges sustainably. She argues that we need to stop treating nature like a warehouse to just extract resources from and start using it as our model, our measure, and our mentor. Seriously, why try to build a brittle wall to withstand a storm when you can study a coral reef that actually grows stronger from the ocean's shifting currents? By taking this philosophy, this conscious emulation of life's genius, and applying it directly to Web3, we can finally move away from those extractive models that are doomed to collapse. We can design organizations that metabolize information and resources just as efficiently as a natural ecosystem does. Think about biological metabolism. Resources flow in, waste is eliminated, and energy goes exactly where the organism needs it most. Apply to a DAO, this means creating circular value flows. The treasury isn't just a stagnant traditional bank account, it functions as a dynamic ecosystem steward, constantly reinvesting energy back into the community to spur new growth. Which brings us to Section 3, the viable system model. Okay, so how do we give all these cool biological concepts an actual structural backbone? For that, we integrate the pioneering work of Stafford Beer in management cybernetics. Beer developed the Viable System Model, or VSM. It details exactly how any organization must be structured to monitor its environment, coordinate its parts, and maintain its identity amidst totally chaotic conditions. It shifts our focus away from rigid hierarchical org charts and toward dynamic feedback loops. Think of the human nervous system. If you touch a hot stove, local nerves sense it, and your hand pulls away instantly. Compare that to a traditional corporation, where a crisis might take 3 weeks, a specialized committee, and a bunch of memos to address. VSM ensures the organization acts like that nervous system, responsive, viable, and very much alive. A crucial part of measuring that internal viability comes down to balancing the 3 E's: effectiveness, efficiency, and ethics. Now, the way ethics is positioned here is super profound. A living system treats ethics not as some optional feel-good PR add-on, but as a structural necessity for long-term survival. If a DAO strips out human development, dignity, and fairness, it completely destroys trust. And without trust, contributors burn out, communities fracture, and the whole system eventually toxifies and collapses. Ethics is quite literally the immune system of the organization, keeping the governance metabolism healthy and preventing internal decay. Let's dive into Section 4, Recursion and Fractal Governance. As we go deeper into the viable system model, we hit a fascinating concept that actually mimics the fractal nature of deep-sea corals. It's called recursion. Recursion is a fractal-like structure where each operational unit is nested as a fully viable system within a larger system. Again, think of biology. A cell is a fully functioning unit nested inside an organ, which is nested inside a human body. Applied to decentralized organizations, recursion ensures that every localized cell, like a working group or a guild within the DAO, has the autonomy to sense its immediate environment and adapt on its own. But despite having that extreme autonomy, it remains perfectly aligned with the larger organism. It distributes information so beautifully that no single layer is ever overwhelmed or flying blind. A truly beautiful way to visualize this in action is by picturing a massive school of bioluminescent fish. A school of fish moves as one integrated ecosystem without any centralized control. They don't have a CEO fish issuing directives. Instead, a recursive DAO relies on distributed intelligence. Fish actually use a sensory organ called a lateral line to detect tiny pressure changes from their neighbors, allowing the whole school to dart away from a predator in a split second. They act on hyperlocal feedback loops, and the entire structure adapts in real time. That is true complex adaptive coordination, and it's the exact level of responsiveness that decentralized orgs need. Finally, Section 5, Building the Legal Exoskeleton. So how does this look in the real world? Let's explore how the DAO345 Foundation down in the Cayman Islands is actually putting these complex theories into practice. DAO345 treats the organization as a legal animal. They get that a DAO isn't just software or some simple token game. It's a complex entity that has to continuously adapt, metabolize info, self-organize, and preserve its identity while its structure shifts. They're deliberately embedding these biological traits directly into their legal and technical frameworks, so the whole thing functions as a self-sustaining ecosystem. They're literally building a living institution from the ground up. In their specific model, the tech stack, meaning the blockchain, the smart contracts, the AI agents, functions as an exoskeleton. This is so similar to Theo Jansen's famous strand beasts. If you haven't seen them, they are these massive, skeletal structures made of PVC pipes that physically walk along beaches, powered entirely by the wind. The tubes and joints are just an automated framework. In Web3, the blockchain and AI are those PVC pipes. They're the automated bones, enforcing compliance and reacting to the environment. But the human contributors? We are the wind. We provide the essential life force, the energy, and the purpose that actually makes that exoskeleton move. Ultimately, when you combine these biological principles with Web3 technology, you create what systems theorists call autopoiesis. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it simply means a system's capacity to continuously reproduce its own components and boundaries. A DAO isn't defined by a static genesis block or its initial code. Just like you constantly replace your own cells while remaining you, an autopoietic DAO is defined by its living capacity to generate valid decisions, repair itself when attacked, and survive shifting markets. It's an unstoppable process of self-creation. Which brings us to the big takeaway for this explainer. As we face these incredibly volatile, high-pressure environments, the old paradigms of thick walls and rigid hierarchies are proving to be dangerously fragile. We've seen how adopting biological blueprints, from dynamic metabolism and recursive structures to living legal exoskeletons, offers a real path out of the industrial age and into an era of truly resilient design. So I want to leave you with a direct challenge. As you think about the future, are you building a machine that's just waiting to break, or a living system ready to evolve? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into biomimicry and viable systems. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.